Football Outsiders put this graphic together. With the win over Miami last week, Kyle Shanahan finally got over 500 for his career. He is 47-46. It took 93 games to get over 500. The only coach that ever took longer to get over 500 was the Hall of Famer, Tom Landry. Tom Landry. It took him longer to get over 500. Now, as the article points out, Landry took over an expansion team and they didn't have a draft pick. So it was a little bit of a different era. But just gives you an idea. Now, other guys that took a long time to get over 500, Gary Kubiak in Houston. This is career record. So Jeff Fisher, Bill Walsh, among others. So Jimmy Johnson in Dallas, Dick Vermeil in Philly. Dick Vermeil had open tryouts. I think the Niners were able to stop short of that. Jerry Glanville in Houston. But
you think Vince Papale could make this 49er team?
I think Shanahan would actually like Papale, don't you?
Well, I think Belichick would sign him before Kyle could get his hands on him.
He'd be coming out of a Chip Kelly program.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's just, I don't know. It's just it illustrates, as weird as Kyle's tenure has felt because of the high highs and the low lows and the constant quarterback injuries. The numbers do illustrate it's felt weird. It has been a historically abnormal head coaching career for Kyle Shanahan to this point.
Well, if you just put the microscope on the last 4 years, if they're able to win this division, I think most teams, beside like Andy Reid and like the Belichick Brady run, would sign up for 2 division championships, another playoff berth, and who knows how many playoff games they win or what happens this year, but potentially 5+ playoff wins over that period of time. Like, that's very successful, right? If you siphon out the first couple years that were kind of a disaster.
Yeah. But it's that is representative of a guy that's been kind of a lightning rod for debate, right? Kyle.
Yeah, and he's just a lightning rod coach given the experiences he's had, right? I would say him and his dad, starting with Washington, that was one of the more famous things with RG3 and Cousins, like that just storyline in the NFL. I would say the 28-3 is one of the biggest storylines in the history of the Super Bowl, and I've always said Kyle gets blamed. Like, he's the only assistant coach I ever remember getting blamed for something, whether it's fair or not. Like, head coaches get blamed. I mean, they get crushed, guy. And he just I've never heard Dan Quinn's name mentioned one time with that game. Never once. If you meet someone randomly and you start bullshitting about the 28-3 comeback, it's fuck Kyle. What was he doing? I bet in like 5 years, once we're like a decade removed, you'd be like, you remember who Atlanta's head coach was? They'd be like, Jerry Glanville? I don't think most people would know.
People might think it was Kyle.
Yeah, I think it's morphing into that.
Yeah.
Which, again, fair or not, depending on who you talk to in the business, I know one thing Kyle's always been adamant, when you hear him interviewed, he's like, when you're the OC, you're just consumed with scoring points. So he has always hammered that home. Like, it's not his job to play game management.
One missed pick up, and they win the game.
I would say history, like, it's probably fair that Matt Ryan doesn't deserve to be even though a great career, but like, I think history got it right. Like, Tom got an extra ring, Matt did not get one.
Kyle Shanahan's record with Jimmy Garoppolo is 38-17. His record without Jimmy is 9-29. Now, as the article points out, some of Jimmy's, a Jimmy injury coincided with a Bosa injury one year, a 2020 season. There were he's had a Debo injury mixed in. They've had some injuries that have coincided with Jimmy injuries, but
I wonder, does like Jimmy get credit for that win against the Dolphins? Because he started.
You just technically going as, Brock Purdy gets credit for, but technically, does Jimmy get credit? It's a good question. Is it percentage of snaps or is it start?
I don't know, because he's been hurt several times.
Yeah. Just a follow-up. I thought you might enjoy this. Most games coached never being over 500. Norv Turner, number one. 237 games coached was never over 500.
God, Bart Starr had a tough run there in Green Bay in the mid-70s.
Yep.
Late 70s. Romeo Cornell, that was ugly.
Close? Not really. I mean, Norv was only 8 games under 500. So
Had some moments.